Well, this is about to be the defining episode of this series because we have got the miracle of an FA Cup final against a side below us in the league table. If we win it, we'll be heading into Europe, probably without some of our star players of this season. If we lose it, probably the end of the road for this series, but what a journey it will have been. Yes, hello and welcome along to part 24 of Built in Bristol with me, Daniel. We are back today for the final game of the Premier League season as we've wrapped up a top half finish remarkably in our first season. We've talked about the overpowered tactic before and there is no doubt that I am calling it that this year. But we play against a Brentford side who we were forced to sell Noah Masengo to, and we could be sending him down to the Championship if we get the right result here. But then, of course, in 6 days' time, it is the big one. Leicester City in the FA Cup final, 9th v 13th for a trophy and a place in Europe. Most importantly, perhaps, we've got a bit of an injury crisis, but only in one position. If you're looking forward to seeing how we cope with it, as well as seeing the stance of those players who have been wanting to leave the club, then please do put a thumbs up on the video. I'm going to very quickly show you what's gone on the few games since you were here, and then we're going to go and head straight into it. We start with the schedule. We have played 4 games since you were last here, and ending that so-called crisis against Brighton in the FA Cup semi, well, it's really worked out for us, hasn't it? We beat Wolves by 3-1 the following game, with Alex Scott getting the opener and Sam Surridge ending a goal drought with a brace. Vieira for the next game gets 2 away at Palace in a brilliant win away from home. And then against Brighton, we won even more convincingly this time. A 4-0 win with all the goals in the first half. Vieira got a hat-trick and Surridge got 1. We did lose to the probable champions Liverpool last time out by 2-0. They're a point clear with a game to go, though they go away to Arsenal today. And Chelsea, where are they? Away at Wolves. Maybe there's a twist in that tale yet. And now we play Brentford and Leicester as we look to finish off the year. The big problem with the Liverpool game is that George Tanner went off injured. James Bree has been out for months, as we know. It leaves us in a bit of a tight spot at right wing back. We've got Mark Sykes who can cover there, and we've got Alex Scott who can cover there. I'm going to have to make a big tactical decision. If we go and have a look at the squad at the minute though, there are bigger problems on the way, and I'm intrigued to see what an FA Cup win could do for it. If we lose the FA Cup final, Pring and Scott will be off anyway, and it will be very disappointing. But have a look at that situation now. Alex Scott is wanted at the end of his contract, and he's still not changed his mind. If we get into Europe with Bristol City, why would these players want to go? And the Scott one I can kind of get. But Cameron Pring, it just baffles me. It blows my mind. It doesn't seem realistic. Nobody has wanted him for a year. But let's hope all of the transfer features announced for FM24 will help solve that problem as we go along. For now though, we have got 2 big games to finish the season. We start by trying to send down Noah Masengo. He is in the holding role for Brentford today. They've also got Brennan Johnson, who they pipped us to the post to sign in January. But in the end, it's worked out pretty well for us. Mikkel Damsgaard will be closed down, but this is the team I've gone for. And I have tried to make a few decisions with next week in mind. James Bree might be fit by then, but is he going to be fit enough to start? I'm not so sure. Connor Coventry's got a knock. Almeida's just back, but not fit for 90. I want to try and get him 45 or at least 30 today. And then I'm doing a bit of a tactical experiment with next week in mind. If we can get it right, Alex Scott will play right wing back in the FA Cup final. And then either Bellingham or Almeida will play centre mid. Probably Almeida in truth. If this doesn't work this week and Scott is really poor, the midfield doesn't click, then I'll go back to the tried and trusted midfield and just trust Mark Sykes to do a job, who I'll also give a few minutes to today. It's not an ideal situation for the end of the season, but of course there are positives on the flip side too. Lots of young players improving. We're not playing Liverpool again, so Bajcetic and Williams can come back in, and both strikers are scoring goals, which is a blessed relief. The 11 we've gone for today though is largely first team. There's a couple of youth players and other youngsters on the bench, so Wakefield and Sullivan may get an appearance. I've mentioned Sykes, and of course Gerald is doing really well as well, but if we have a look at Sullivan, he's improving quickly. Wakefield doing exactly the same. They both deserve an opportunity. The 11 we're starting with though is pretty strong, almost as strong as we can be. It's Nathan Baxter in goal, Bajetic, Williams and Montero the back three. Scott and Pring the wing-backs, a new role for our soon-departing superstar, and in fact 2 wing-backs who are destined to leave the club. Bulat, Miramon and Bellingham the midfield three. Bellingham is probably going to be the replacement next year. And then Bieref and Surridge, the front two, absolutely flying at the end of the season. And Bieref has basically become a Premier League player now. The youngsters have developed with higher level football. The tactic has enabled us to stay up comfortably. So let's go and see what we can do to Brentford, who surprisingly are not playing a similar style. Well, here is Thomas Frank's side with Mikkel Damsgaard being closed down. Perrault, the Southampton fullback at times gone by, is dropped to the bench, but otherwise it's a fairly strong team. Let's go and get through. Arsenal lads, we're favourites, blimey. That does make a surprise call. And it's definitely shown how far we've come in the last year and a half. We've gone from being that side who were just hanging on in the Championship relegation zone with a manager who should have been sacked time ago. And now we're in the top half of the Premier League and we're favourites to send a pretty established side now, you have to say, back down to the Championship. 10 minutes gone, it's been a quiet one so far, but it has sort of shaped our season. And I do feel with this tactic, and I maintain it, we're playing worse football than we did in the back four. And we don't have as many highlights, we don't have as many good attacks or great chances. But we're just so much more efficient. We're definitely better defensively. And going forward, it just seems to work. Having 2 players in the box in FM, having 2 centre forwards in there, seems to be a big advantage. 25 gone, it's been a dismal game so far. But we haven't looked like conceding, which again is a great achievement. Well, no further highlights as we reach half-time. A yellow card for Alex Scott. Do I have to end the experiment early to make sure he doesn't get suspended? Quite possibly, to be honest. I'll say we're happy with it, though. We're playing against an established Premier League team and we've offered nothing. In other news, though, Liverpool are throwing away the title. Chelsea are 3 up, Liverpool are 2 down. That one has swung massively on the final day. And I think as we approach the hour mark, it will be Alex Scott to come off. We'll get Almeida some football as well. Maybe rest Miramon, maybe rest Bulat and get some of the youngsters in the team. Here we go. We're going to bring off Scott for Mark Sykes. I think we're going to replace Bulat in holding midfield and go for Bajetic. We're going to start looking at next week now. Geld will come on for him. We'll see what we can do with Sullivan in a moment. I'm also going to bring on Almeida for Miramon. Again, both of those with next week in mind. One getting a rest, one of them getting a few minutes. Jordan Wakefield is going to come on for Bieref, who we cannot afford to get an injury to. I'm going to save the last 1-5. It will probably be one of Williams and Montero to be replaced by David Sullivan. Now, who's the best out of those two there? Sullivan's only 5'10". That'll probably be Montero in a few minutes. But for now, 4 changes made. We're starting to look ahead to next week. We're just a quarter of the game to go as it's a Vidovic free kick for Brentford. And to be fair, us looking to next week might keep them up, which I'm sure the relegation rivals, was it Fulham, might be a bit upset about. I'm going to go for David Sullivan on a centre-half. Is he good on the ball? He's not bad. We'll keep him there. And he's going to play out from the back for 20 minutes to go. Great to see the academy prospects getting a run. Liverpool have got one back at Arsenal as well. Maybe the title race has one final twist, but we're not worried about that. Fulham are losing at home to Burnley, so I think that Brentford will survive based on that. And Arsenal have got a third to wrap Chelsea up the title as Hickey switches the ball away to Damsgaard. He puts it in midfield for Ayer, who's broken free from defence. Good football from Brentford. They may nick one here. And maybe resting players will be a mistake because we go into the FA Cup final with defeat. Or do we? Was Brennan Johnson just offside from the original ball? It's a big question mark. It's a close call. Let's hope so. The Vidovic header was well saved, but was Johnson offside? Yes, he was. We've got away with one. And now a 0-0 draw looks a very good result. Let's encourage the lads. Get the spirits up for a minute because 0-0 would be a decent one here. We finished the season with a clean sheet. We finish it without a defeat. Bellingham played pretty well, which I'm encouraged by. I think I saw enough to play Scott right back next week. Let's go and get through to the FA Cup final after confirming the Premier League table. Who stayed up, who went down, and who won the title. The lads played well, they got a good result. We finished on 53 points, by the way. We're in 9th place. It is a remarkable achievement. It's a stunning effort. Chelsea do win the title. Everton and Fulham go down with Brentford saved at their expense. So now we go ahead to the Leicester game, who finished with a narrow defeat against City. and one of us is going to be in Europe and with an FA Cup trophy in a cabinet. Let's go and find out which one it's going to be. Well, we're back for the FA Cup final. We'll have a look at the fitness tests in a minute, but can I just take a minute to revel in this statistic? Because the wages to turnover ratio in the Premier League is here. And you can see some of those rivals in the bottom half are up the top with a 50-odd%. We're at 14%. We are making our board millions. And if we do win this final and get into Europe, I'm expecting a big budget next summer and a chance to really have a go. We've done a fabulous job. We're pushing on nicely. And I really want to see if we can get this job done. Leicester are spending 43% by comparison, and their turnover is a lot bigger than ours, which means they're spending an awful lot more on wages. Now, there is some good news today as we come into this one. Although George Tanner has failed a fitness test, James Bree has recovered from his broken ankle. He's been out 3 months, but he is going to be on the bench for the FA Cup final, I've decided. Let's get through to the fixtures. Leicester City v Bristol City. They've got the better team on paper. They've got Lucas Moura, Jefferson Lerma, and all the other Premier League stars you're used to. Most importantly, they've got my FM23 nemesis. Anyone who watched the head coach this year will know that Benoit Badiashile is almost certain to score against me. So we'll keep our eyes on him. We'll get through the team selection. We'll be back in a minute with this changed to run through our team for today. Well, we've made it successfully through the team meeting and individual chats without really upsetting anyone so far this week. But now we have to make the big decisions. And that includes keeping Alex Scott at right wing back today, despite being one of our best midfielders this season. And as a result of that partially enforced outcome, Andre Almeida is back in centre midfield. He's had a couple of great games in there on loan. He's been a really useful player to this squad. And the final deadline day addition from last summer might well end up being a star today. We could do with one of our strikers getting back in scoring form. Maybe it's time for Troy Parrott to end that goal drought off the bench. And I've even chucked Harry Cornick on there. Because if you remember the Wembley winner last year in the playoff final, it was that man off the bench to save the day. Bellingham's there as well, as is James Bree, as we mentioned. But our lineup from last week sees just one change. Almeida in for Bellingham from the start. Scott stays at right wing back. It's the FA Cup final. It's Wembley Stadium. And so far, we've won 2 out of 2 here. Well, former Luton loanee Kiernan Dewsbury Hall is the man to be closed down, but James Justin misses out. He's unavailable. Lucas Moura and Max Verbert both out as well. Daka is the man through the middle. They've got quality players, both starting and on the bench. So let's see who comes out on top. In we go. Pump the fist. Do it for the fans, you lads. No reaction at all. Not a good sign. We'll get into the first half though. We've got the experience of Wembley. Of course, Leicester pipped City here in a semi-final. But as well as winning ours against Brighton, we won the playoff final last year too. We're used to the big occasion. We've got the best possible tactic. But can we get our strikers scoring when it matters most? Let's go and find out. Into the first half against Leicester. We will be underdogs. There is no doubt about that. There are nearly 10 minutes on the clock. I'm thinking maybe to encourage the lads as Bulat's picked up a bruised shin. No way I'm taking my skipper off for that. We've encouraged the lads. Bulat has not really picked up from that. I'm hoping he'll be alright because Scott would be the natural man to go in there next. And I'm a bit out of options on that front. It's been a quiet half an hour. These are never good games. You know what my cup finals are like. As Williams finds Miramon. Just please don't let the red card curse strike. And don't let it strike against us. As Scott on the right finds Bajcetic. Doing a real team job here is Alex Scott. Away down the right to Bieref. Oh, he set up the opener. Who would have thought it? Forced out to right wing back because both of the first two are injured or have been for a long time. And Alex Scott prowls down the right wing, puts in a beautiful cross for Mika Bieref. And his 16th for the season. It might well be his most important as Maddison comes straight back from the kickoff though. Hang on a minute. Oh God, Daka heads it in. No sooner have I got excited than we've thrown the game away. It is 1-1 and it is literally the minute after, isn't it? 31st minute to the 32nd. Well, that was a short-lived excitement, wasn't it? As Jefferson Lerma picks it up again. Now we've got to get to half-time. Very similar pattern to the Brighton game, actually. Though Scott is beaten on the left-hand side. And Thomas gets in. I'm nervous. I'm making a hash of the highlights and the commentary. I'm sure you can forgive me today. Who's marking at the back post? Get back in there, man. Number 15, who was that? Or 25, it's Miramon. As Surridge heads the ball away. Thomas is there, but we just can't get out at the minute. A very good 31st minute, followed by a poor 32nd. And now Bulat's on a yellow as well. It's not great. The cross is over hit from Leicester, but Daka will keep it in. Now he cuts it back to Ryerson. Good ball in for Dewsbury Hall. Oh, come on. Even the commentary says that looks harsh. Almeida's in and he's given away a pen. They're not going to overturn it now. Looks harsh, but still awarded. Oh, it's just always bound to be the big games. In on the stroke of half time. This could be a really costly moment. Maddison v Baxter. Nathan Baxter is sent the wrong way. And James Maddison has put Leicester ahead. And they will go into the break 2-1 up. The worst possible time to concede a goal. There it is then. The dream was, well, it was being lived for a minute, wasn't it? I'm going to say I'm disappointed. Try and get the lads on board a bit. Bit worried about Bulat being nervous. I'm going to say I've got faith in you. He appears inspired. Now don't fly into a tackle and get sent off, please. As Jefferson Lerma plays back to his centre-half from the kickoff. Ryerson down the right-hand side, forced backwards. Sutar does well with it to Lerma, and we're not really pressing them here at the minute. We have to score the next goal in this game. If we go 3-1 down, we won't come back. We've seen it this season enough. Most of the games we've won or lost, particularly when not at home, they've been by the odd goal. As Bajcetic gets the ball right back, finds Williams. He goes into Bulat and Bajcetic again. It's been a long old highlight to start the half. We've seen all of it. Oh, there's the red card curse. And it's not for us. It's Luke Thomas for Leicester, who flies in on Alex Scott. Was beaten by him for the opening goal. And now he's flown in. I don't know if that helps us or not. Playing 10 is not the easiest task against a team with a lead. But it certainly gives us half an opportunity. The lads are so deflated and I don't know why. Pick yourselves up, man. You're playing in a dream game. We're going to get to the last 20 minutes because the team on the pitch is the best one. And I think now we're going to have to throw caution to the wind. Scott is struggling at right wing back. But he's playing really well, so I'm going to leave him there. I'm going to take off Sam Surridge for Troy Parrott. And we're going to hope that goal drought prophecy comes to fruition. Bieref plays in a slightly deeper role. I'm going to take Miramon off for Bellingham, who will switch sides with Almeida. I'm going to take off maybe Bulat as well, who's struggling. Damane is available. James Bree is back. What do I go for? I'm going to go for Damane, I think. There's not many other areas we can improve. In fact, I'm not going to bring Damane on. I'm going to bring on Geld. Bajcetic will go into midfield. Geld to the left, Montero to the right. Let's get people playing on their natural side out from the back as Almeida's got a free kick up to Reece Williams. Off the line by Sutar. Lerma heads away. It's starting to feel like it won't be our day here. I'm trying to encourage them. I'm trying to keep them on board. There's 10 minutes to go. Leicester have been second best for a lot of this game. Ah, jeez. What a way to sign out from the club. Alex Scott sent off in the FA Cup final. The referee desperate to even it out and he's allowed him to. I don't know what to do. The long and short of it, though, is that Alex Scott has just played his final minute for the club and it's a ridiculous one. I'm going to put Norrington Davis on for Pring at left wing back. And then who do I put on the right? I've got Bree and I've got Sykes. I'm going to go for Sykes because he's more attacking and he's fitter. But do I take off a midfielder or a defender? I'm going to take off, I think maybe Bajcetic. Or at least, no, I'm going to take Montero off. I'll put Bajcetic back in. And then in midfield, we'll go for Sykes off the right. And we'll go without a holding midfielder. We've just got to throw caution to the wind now. We'll get to 85 minutes. We'll go attacking. We'll push for it. We'll demand more. We'll go for 5 minutes of stoppage time. But it's all gone wrong at the end of an FA Cup final that started so well. And the final moments of this save, well, they're pretty harrowing in truth, aren't they? It's been a wonderful 18 months. But we finish with Alex Scott getting sent off in his final game for the club. I'll play through to the end of June off camera to see if he has a change of heart, but I think he'll be off now. And we lose the FA Cup final. It was a dream to be here. But once we reached it, it was an opportunity. And the opportunity has gone begging. Leicester City lift the FA Cup. A brilliant first Premier League season for us. But it ends in disaster on the pitch. And off it, it's going to be one hell of a summer. It would have been nice to win the trophy, but it's another game with the red card curse. The lunging tackle this time from Leicester. evened up after by the referee. We lose the FA Cup final. We get a red card. Now let's see what has changed here. Bulat is out for a couple of days. We do get a bit of extra money for it. And Alex Scott is fined. But what difference does it make at this point? We have finished the season in remarkable style. We should have won the cup final. We didn't make it. But now we'll skip ahead to the season review and quite possibly say goodbye to this save. Well, here is the season review that sadly does not have the surprise trophy under it, but it's still been a fabulous year. When you consider where we were 18 months ago, clinging on to our job for dear life, this is one hell of an achievement. We've skipped a page there. Let's have a look at the players we got in this summer because they made a massive difference. You look at the fees we paid as well. Yes, we took 2 gambles really, didn't we? On Geld and on Montero at the back. But otherwise, we didn't spend that bigger money. We didn't spend, 8 figures on anyone. The only one really was Reece Norrington-Davies, who was a fairly big deal. But he's going to become first choice next year if you choose to take on the save. Otherwise, it was cheap deals. It was sensible deals. And people like Bieref for 2 million compensation, Miramon for less than 5 and Parrott for 4. They look like absolute steals now. When you compare it to the people who went out, bar Masengo, it shows you what we've had to achieve this summer. When you consider that last year's backups were Cal Naismith, were Ross McCrory, were Zach Viner, who's now at Gateshead, were Kane Wilson, who's now at Oxford, and even the likes of Bajic we moved on for a couple of million. It really is a very different level of playing squad now. Masengo, of course, was the big one that hurt. He went for nearly 20 million, but the contractual situation made it impossible. And given that we're about to lose 2 for free, we couldn't afford for it to be all of them. The season results were remarkable. 25 points clear of relegation. And the big thing with those draws, look, 14 draws, only 11 defeats. It's a staggering effort, really. And we never really looked in trouble at any point. Or maybe that little run there where we played all the top sides in October and November. The FA Cup run was brilliant. We had a fortunate one, but we couldn't quite make it stick. The Carabao Cup, we got one of the big boys early. But overall, just a magical season. And in fact, we saw that match to remember on camera, didn't we? It ended that disastrous run we talked about. Goal of the season was against Burnley. It was Miramon who scored that one. The 5-0 win, our biggest one against Fulham. We've had a couple of great results this year. But that City match, definitely one that sticks out to me. I'm sure it does to those of you who have followed as well. We're now an established 3.5-star reputation club. We're about to lose our 2 biggest shirt sellers though. The homegrown boys, they want to move on. And it just highlights a big problem with some of the recruitment and contractual stuff in FM23, which hopefully all of the new features will address. The broadcast revenue was times 30-fold from being in a championship. So was the competition prize money. In fact, that's times about 300-fold. It's pretty impressive, isn't it? The match day revenue's up. Everything else is great. Look, we've put this club in a really good position. We've done a job that is remarkable. And we only just kept our job halfway through it, which makes it even more special. We got Championship Manager of the Year last year. We've had a record transfer for Montero, which you have to say has definitely worked out because he's worth an awful lot more now. Just the 50 to 70 million. Cameron Pring got Player of the Season again, despite wanting to walk away. Signing of the season, Troy Parrott, which seems a bit harsh on Bieref. He was the top scorer. Bulat top of the assist chart. And Surridge with the most man of the match awards. History in the making as we gone up to 9th place in the Premier League table. There is no doubt that that is a successful season and we can hold our head high at the end of this one. Drew Warburton, who we signed in January, is in the Next Gen Award, playing for England under-20s in the World Cup. If you want to take over this save in the comments, I will leave the save file. But I mean, seriously, that kid is going to be a gem. What a shame we didn't get him a few years earlier. Let's go and get through the inbox to see all of the other messages. Because the supporter profile update, we've grown a little bit there, haven't we? Both on and off the pitch. The club vision for next season is still just attempt to avoid relegation, avoid second season syndrome when your star players from the academy walk out. We've also got to pick some of the other stuff, but that's not important for now. What a shame that we finished the save this way. I was kind of looking forward to one more year with European football, seeing if we could cope with the challenges of it, but it's not to be. I should mention as well, for if any of you do want to take this over, we got our transfer budget through on Sunday night. It's not bad at all. Nearly 60 million quid. And the wage bill, how does that compare? It has times by almost double. So we're talking about a 300 grand a week upgrade. It's a massive opportunity to take this club on. should become an established Premier League club if it can survive this year. But it's going to have to be done without Cameron Pring, who wants to leave, and Alex Scott, who just will not change his mind. Not wanted by the biggest clubs in the world at the moment, which is an interesting one. But after getting sent off in that FA Cup final was a disastrous finish to a very good year. Let me know what you thought of the save. Let me know what you thought of that cup final. It's a very good young team here. It can be built upon. If you want to, I'll leave the save file down in the comments. But thank you very much for following along with this fun little save for me. Don't worry, after this week, we'll just go daily throughout the weekdays with our Build a Nation save. So you're not going to get any less content on the channel. We are going to have a couple of FM24 specials in the place of this for the rest of the week. If you want to stay up to date with that and you did enjoy this series, please do put a thumbs up on the video. Let me know in the comments what your favourite game or moment from the save was and whether you've encountered some of the contractual problems that I have in this save. If you want to stay up to date with everything else, subscribe and turn that notification bell on. All the other playlists, including our Build a Nation, are up in the eye above. That one will continue tomorrow. Championship predictions every match day over on the podcast channel. Keep up with my views on Bristol City up there. And everything else you can't find is down in the description below. I hope you're looking forward to the Build a Nation going daily. Thank you very much for following this one. And if you take on this save from the comments below, let me know how you get on in the future. I'll be interested to see your updates.